Kevin Harder. Welcome everybody to our meeting on Wednesday, September 28th, 2016. And I'll start off with the usual acknowledgement of our traditional territories. That's not the new one. This is the new one.
Sorry about that. It's in the minutes of the next meeting. Because we're recognizing the Métis, there we go, right there.
Yeah. Okay. We respectfully honor and acknowledge the Aboriginal peoples, recognizing that our students come to us with Aboriginal ancestry from a variety of ancient homelands. We acknowledge and recognize the Métis people as one of Canada's distinct peoples. We would like to acknowledge and honor the four nations on whose traditional land we live and learn: the Snayaks, the Ktunaxa, the Secwepemc, and the Silex. And I'd also like to welcome our guests today. We've got Angie Spencer, who's with Video Dunwoody, is that the official name?
It's now Video Canada, yeah.
Okay. Who's our auditor, and also Molly Pierce, who's from the Auditor General of British Columbia Department. Welcome to Revelstoke. And so with that in mind, on our agenda, what we're going to do is the audited financial statements, which are item 8.2B. We're going to move that right to where it says delegations, so that Andy can do a presentation and then they can go if they want, although if you want to stay for a meeting.
I offered them, but yeah.
Thank you very much.
I need mine. Get back on the highway.
Did everybody get that?
Yes.
So with that in mind, could I have a motion to approve the agenda? Alan seconded. Jeff? All those in favor? Carried. Good. The minutes of our last meeting, now you can go back to those. Okay. June 15th, 2016. A motion to approve those minutes, please. Elmer seconded. Leslie? Any discussion? All those in favor? Carried. Good. So, I will turn things over to Ms. Angie to present our audited financial statements.
Thank you very much, Chair. Yes, as mentioned, I am with BDO, so we are the independent auditors of the school district, and we have substantially completed our audit, subject to the approval tonight of the final financial statements. So I am going through the financial statements just to give a very high-level overview of some of the significant changes over prior year. Page 3 is our independent audit report. So it is a lengthy report, but the end result is that there is what we would call an unqualified audit opinion, or a clean audit opinion, meaning that these financial statements are free of material misstatement and in compliance with public sector accounting standards as they're required. With the exception consistent with other school districts that is highlighted in note 2, which is just around the accounting for deferred capital contributions. Page 4 of the financial statements is your statement of financial position as at June 30th, 2016. Some of the significant changes over prior year, cash and cash equivalents has increased by about $2 million, and that's largely due to some timing of grants that received from the government related to capital expansion that will be happening, into the following year. So that's been deferred. Other financial assets are fairly consistent and within expectation of prior year. Similarly, liabilities are quite consistent with last year. Included in accounts payable and accrued liabilities is significant amount of holdbacks related to construction, which should be rectified in the next while. Deferred capital revenue of $59 million. This represents capital funding that's been received, and from accounting standards perspective has to be deferred and amortized over the life of those assets. So that represents funding that's already been spent, but for accounting purposes is deferred and recognized over time. And then overall, your non-financial assets, which is really the buildings and furniture, equipment, vehicles, buses, etc., is sitting at about $61 million. That's down due to amortization, which was offset by some additions during the year. So overall, an accumulated surplus, which is essentially all of your assets less liabilities, is at about $3.9 million. okay? And that includes all capital additions that were purchased since the beginning of time by the school district. On to page 5 is the statement of operations. So the income statement for the year. As I've mentioned before, this is a consolidated income statement, so it includes not only operating funding, but funding related to capital expenditures that's recognized in these. So overall revenue is very consistent with prior year. There was some increased funding last year related to some capital projects, but overall operating funding is very consistent with the prior year. As are the other revenue categories such as tuition and rentals and investment income. The only exception was around other revenue, which is fundraising activities, which increased this year over prior year, largely because in prior year there weren't as many efforts towards that with the strike action that was happening. On to expenses, overall expenditures of about 13 million. That's up from last year of about 12.6 million, largely due to, number one, an overall wage increase, but also last year was down due to 3 weeks of strike action, which had no salaries paid out during that time. So overall, a surplus for the year of about 58,000. And that's it for the statement of operations. I'm not proposing to go through all the schedules which do detail out the different funds in terms of capital fund, your operating funds, and of course the notes to the financial statements, but they are there for your perusal, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you're listening.
Okay, so we need to approve these, right? We'll ask for a motion to approve, and then if there are any questions or comments from any trustees, we'll take them. So Elmer, you're going to move them, that they be approved. Seconded to Alan. Any questions, comments?
Just a question, what's the life of buildings now?
40 years.
You guys have any questions? I would also point out that we've previously met with you and actually went through this all in much more detail.
Yes.
For a better understanding for all of the trustees, but Alan first.
Yeah, just a comment is that when we include the capital and the amortization, we say a surplus of 3.9, that gets a little bit confusing, but I think the real figure here is in terms of the operating year last year, a surplus of 58,000. And we have to put that in the context of that's on a basically $10.5 million budget, and a surplus of 58,000. To me, that's a little bit higher surplus than I would like to see, but it's one of those ones where we always have some unknowns, and some of the unknowns could be the things such as our weather in terms of utility costs, and then sometimes some of our salary costs in terms of absences. So it's good to have a surplus, but personally I'd rather see it a little bit lower.
Well, and I think just to add to that, because these are consolidated, there are some other variables there. I mean, we discussed before that really your operating surplus was at about $10,000.
Yeah.
That there are some accounting matching things that have to happen in terms of being compliant with the standards.
Mhm.
But from an overall operation standpoint and your operating funding, less expenses, you were very close
Yeah.
to meeting your budget, so, yeah.
Bruce, you-
That was just a point I was
Yeah.
making for trustee Sheldon.
Yeah.
It was actually 10,000 in operations, the rest of this is capital and other accounting entries.
Okay.
Just a question, how does that compare with other districts?
In terms of surplus or deficit?
In terms of percentage, perhaps.
Percentage?
Yeah.
I have not looked at all the statements this year because they're just coming in. I would say they're all over the map in terms of.
An acceptable level, though we had discussed prior, would be around a 2.5% expected, would be an acceptable level for a school district to be at 2.5% surplus.
Yeah,
given
and
other
that, I know
factors.
some school districts sort of will budget in that occasionally, but they try to keep it at that,
Mhm.
for sure. There are some that are in deficits, drawing down previous surplus.
Mhm, mhm.
Any other questions, comments? Okay, and we can vote. All those in favor of approving the minutes, or the financial statements? Carried. Good. Well, I want to thank both of you for being here and doing your job as far as oversight for what is happening as far as our financial statements go, and Angie for you working with your firm and doing the audited financial statements, and also Bruce back with us again to keep us on track, which is a great thing, and I know Mike probably helped a lot too, so thank you to all of you. And
Is Molly gonna say a few words?
oh, Molly, were you going to say something?
I was just going to explain my presence here.
Okay.
You know, I'm with the Office of the Auditor General, which is an independent office of the legislature. And we are the auditor of the government financial statements, which includes central government as well as the such sector, which is schools, universities, colleges, and health authorities. We physically can't audit all of these organizations. We engage private sector accounting firms to carry out work on our behalf. And as part of our reliance on private sector accounting firms, we do oversight on those organizations that we're not directly involved with, and that involves communicating with the audit firm as well as attending board meetings and reviewing the files that the audit firms have prepared. And that's why I'm here. School District 19 was not chosen for any particular risk. We just like to have a broad knowledge of the sector, and that includes doing oversight or direct audits of school districts in different locations and in different sizes. And thank you for having me. It's a beautiful part of the province.
Yes, you get us on a good day. It's a beautiful day today. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And safe trip home.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item then would be.
Okay, all right. Let me get back on there. Nope, just for report, or just for report. Okay. You want to hear them?
Yeah.
You want to hear, yeah. Okay. Trouble navigating my navigation work here. Sorry, get back to my report. There it is, it was almost there. Okay, there we go. Okay. So I went back to August 15th roughly for September 19th for this one. I'd like to highlight a number of areas that I think that trustees would be interested in already having some information, but just a little bit of an update on kind of how some of these bigger projects are going. So first off, we finalized the 16-17 teacher mentoring pairs. You know that the program's in its third year. The leadership provided by Pam Mayer, Tammy Thomas has been greatly appreciated. They both attended the UBC new teacher mentoring training in the first week of July on our behalf in order to be able to continue to lead this group. And Allison and Justin and Colleen Wall were both involved for the last 2 years and are providing support in that capacity as well. So we've got a great committee still working on that. Our training session, the pairs will come together for the first training together on October the 3rd, and then they'll meet 4 times during the course of the school year on a model that is more than just collaborating, working together. It actually is a mentoring model, which is why it starts with a training component. In the second, on item number 4, sorry, I'm just going to change my view here. This is something's up with this. If I try that and get into this, there we go. Now it's the I can actually make it just a little bit bigger for you too. I just want to say the thanks. Trustees were aware that Times Review had offered to put together a sort of an education insert or a highlight of the school district back in June. It was an idea that come from another newspaper in Okanagan, and it served as a nice little nice news article piece to go home just to parents on highlighting programs and services both at the school levels but also our education partners. So I'm in the process of finalizing that and getting that off to Mavis. So I've collected articles from everybody from early childhood through to the Youth Initiatives Committee and of course our own staff and highlighting our programs. Michael Howarth and Bruce and I continue to look at our budget as it relates to technology upgrades. You know that we went for many years where we were annually setting aside a little bit of money for technology support, and then generally speaking that money would disappear as we went to balance our budget. Near the end, we're into now our 3rd year of providing mobile tech lab support, and that project has been really very well received and really well directed at student learning, as opposed to just getting technology into students' hands or into teachers' hands. And so that program continues to expand, and we are this year, and I'll bring you information during the course of the year. You know, we've only been at the elementary level. We're about to embark at the high school. with a pilot project there as well, and that we're in the process of ordering the equipment to do that now. Not tremendous amounts of dollars, but certainly a lot of training time and a lot of staff time goes into doing that on the teacher's behalf. In terms of the capital plans, and Bruce has a number of these on the agenda, but I just wanted to highlight this one because there has been a huge amount of work in terms of the number, and you heard we're talking about the amount of dollars that have been spent on capital projects in the last couple of years, including the Arrow Heights capital project still going on now, another one on the horizon, and the Columbia Park project, in addition to all of the routine maintenance that's taking place. If you haven't been able to get into all the schools just of late, when you do get there, you'll know that they are all looking fabulous. We made a decision quite some time ago to say those two outside schools were not going to become the poor cousins to the downtown buildings in terms of over in the east and west of Columbia Park and Arrow Heights. And I think aside from the outside right now at Arrow Heights, which we might be dealing with soon, those buildings look quite fabulous. Don't tell anybody at Arrow Heights, there might be more construction. That's just a secret for you, Michelle. The work that our education committee just yesterday reviewed the new reporting order, and our staff have had a look at the new reporting order. It does offer a couple of different options for reporting at the K-9 level for this school year in anticipation of significant changes coming in future. So to that end, Bob and I are working together to form a communicating student learning committee. We have the outline of that committee of the work, and the invitation is actually, Bob, between you and I right now, is just about to go out to appoint those positions and get started on that. And finally, just in terms of the number of things that related to annual reviews, the codes of conduct popped up again this year, and a little bit of work to do in the code of conduct in terms of the most recent announcement regarding gender identity and sexual orientation being listed right in codes of conduct. But quite proud to say that we are well ahead of the curve for a lot of the requirements. So the policy review committee looked at our board policies. We're making one small revision to the code of conduct policy, knowing that our codes of conduct are already at a compliance state of that because the work was previously done. But then all of our other policies that we're now asking by the province to be checking with the big announcement from Bernier not too long ago, we were already well there. So. Good for the work of the district doing that, and I think Bob's got a letter in correspondence referring just to that point too. So thanks for that, Bob. So, and we also we're on the edge of September 30th data, so I thought you may be interested. Actually, Bill asked specifically you'd be interested to know enrollment numbers. The enrollment and class organization formal report will come to the board October, as it always does in the first board meeting in October after the September 30th count. But to let you know. That right now we're up from our anticipated enrollment. We've anticipated 930. It looks to me like we're still just figuring out the last couple because it always comes right down the line, who's in and who's out. About 945 students, maybe 947 as of our snapshot time tomorrow. So up substantially. Arrow Heights Elementary stayed about the same at 234 students. Begleyview Elementary went up from 245 all the way up to 260, and I think right now today they've got 259. And Columbia Park Elementary jumped up from where we left off in June at about 186 all the way to 198, with 2 new arrivals coming in the first week of October that have enrolled, and we're not counting them yet. But
So how many did you say there are Heights?
134. Yeah. So for the first year in many. We anticipated 930, but remember that we had 925 at the end of the school year last year. We knew we were going to go up a little bit, but we didn't anticipate that level of increase, which is exciting for us. And looking ahead, we're looking at about 75 graduates for this school year. We had 82 kindergarten students come in this year. So if we maintain that again, if we maintain a cohort of around 80 kindergarten students, we'd be in another growth situation next year. We'll wait to get there. So that's 959 students right now, inclusive of 21 international students. So looking good, but I'll bring you the formal report. We report to the ministry, and of course that snapshot is what is building our budget. It's helping us work towards the amended budget. So the September 30th data is reported to the district, or reported to the province next week. And then they'll build our funding on that. So it's good news from an enrollment perspective. Also good news, students in terms of class sizes. It was a great thing we left that division in Columbia Park. It was really quite easy to take the division out of Columbia Park when we were down around 180 so, and then we made that decision back in May to leave the extra classroom there. And they filled it up. So our class sizes are good, which you'll see in October, but we're nice and full.
Good, thank you, Mike. Any comments, questions? Leslie?
First of all, I'd really like to just comment that I think the mentoring program is really terrific.
Yeah.
Thinking back to when I was teaching grade 7, being alone in that classroom, and I was just astonished that they left me alone. Nobody ever came
Is somebody gonna come?
asked what I was
Yeah,
doing,
yeah,
you know?
yeah.
It was just amazing.
Yeah.
To me, I thought, gee, they're gonna be on my back the whole time, and nobody was, and I was disappointed. So that's a really good kind of thing. Question about number 2, the revised curriculum assessment and reporting strategies.
Mhm.
This is an area about which I do receive questions from people.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if maybe in this Times, or if there's any articles being written about that by a teacher or by a principal,
Mhm.
so as to inform the public a little bit. I think there's quite a lot of, I think just curiosity.
Yeah, yeah.
About, well, what does get reported, and also how can we as trustees learn more about what is going on in that area?
Mhm.
I don't expect you to answer that right now, but it would be nice to know how we could find out more.
Yeah, Bill probably wants to speak
Well-
about the education committee.
From the Education Committee's planning, you'll recall last spring we did the presentation on the redesigning curriculum. We met yesterday, we're beginning the planning process to look at how we can get that information out to the public, to parents as broadly as we can. We're not quite sure, we haven't finalized the plan yet. We're looking at some sort of presentation late November, maybe around the time the first reporting cards go, is that?
Yeah, it's just after
Yeah.
the first reporting, yeah.
And there was also a suggestion that we might actually go to PACS, but I do also understand principals are also going over this with their PACS also.
Mhm.
So yes, we're aware of that, we know that there is some curiosity, concern, anxiety out there, and we want to see what we can do to deal with it. But I'd also say, as far as getting some basic information, if people just went to the Ministry of Ed's website, they do have all the documents on the requirements as to report cards and stuff there for people to look at, which may be helpful as far as people looking at it and then going, well, yeah, I'm not sure I understand this, or I have this question, or, yeah, that makes sense, so.
To your point though, Leslie, there still are a lot of questions, and that's what's, I think, creating a lot of angst there. Where people have questions, and you can go on the website and there aren't answers, because the question is, what about my marks in grade 10, and there isn't an answer there. It's everything, it's all, and now the big part of that though is it's all gonna be built on collaborative discussion and on the work that teachers are doing. So there is, nothing has been decided, which is the scary part, but the province is saying to education, what do you wanna do with this? And allowing education to drive the
Education meaning
process.
teachers or principals?
Boards,
or you, or-
board discussions, presentations like this, at the school level, certainly they're having these discussions, yeah. So it's out there.
And maybe you want to give a little bit more explanation of the committee that you and Bob are working at, which is related to that too.
Yeah, so that's the communicating student learning piece, and that's what you're asking too, wasn't it, Leslie? That's about the report cards.
Yeah,
We're trying to figure out what should report cards look like, and before we just say, well, here's what we think they should look like, we need a lot of input, because there's a lot of flexibility around what they might look like in future, because the order changed to allow boards to start to allow districts to start engaging parent community and students in a discussion about what would be helpful to them in terms of reporting.
So is that happening at PACS?
For sure, there's been presentations at PACS. There will again be presentations at DPAC. It will be teachers meeting right now, like our actual teacher committees meeting, and then bringing it back to parent community. A few small examples of that. Last year at Columbia Park, made some changes to a couple of classroom report cards. They talked to the parents, had the parents come in and say, we're going to try something different. So there's a few samples of models already out there, and that's the important part, is saying, here's
So
what we think.
parents are being
Are being
included in the
engaged.
discussion,
Oh,
being
yes.
asked what
Yeah.
they want, because that's the kind of,
They have the best questions right now, actually, I think.
they're the
Yeah.
questions that
Yeah.
are good. On another point, item number 6, maybe this is just my ignorance, but ensure policies and protocols align with current requirements.
Mhm.
What are the current requirements privacy protection, internet use and media consents, where would I find these?
Yeah, so we've got protocols that I would share with you that we regularly update, because as the freedom of privacy, freedom of privacy protection and protection of privacy information, as those evolve with changing media and the use of social media, those are continually evolving, and as well as the legal, as the law tests some of those areas, we get updates to say this is new. Like as an example, David Rooney is very welcome to come and take pictures at a sporting event and publish them without consent. But if we invite David to come to a school event, which is a closed event, and say we're welcoming David to come take some pictures, now we do need consent from a closed ceremony. We do need a consent before David publishes those pictures. Now that's brand new to us. So those kind of things that they change our practice.
Okay, so when you say we, that you're getting these from the ministry?
Some come from the
to
ministry,
school
some come
districts, or
from,
where do they come from?
some come from the ministry as ministry orders, others come from, and then we get opinions on them from BC Superintendent's Association, BCSTA,
Right.
provides legal opinions and provides advice to say, here's what we think you should do with them. And then we review our protocols to ensure they're in line.
Would it be possible sometime for the board to have a little bit more information about this?
Sure, I think, yeah, absolutely. I don't think it would be appropriate for this venue, but I would, yeah, for sure. Yeah, having a look at our protocols, and they're very public because our parents have got access, because they drive what's in our consent forms that go home with families.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm happy to spend some time on that.
On number 7, I would be interested in, at some point, having Mike Hayworth come and maybe do a presentation the way he did, I believe, last year in the fall.
Oh, boy, he'd love to. Okay,
Technology.
good.
Is
All right,
that-
yeah, you're
Is
on.
that asking a lot of
No,
you?
oh, no, he'd be very happy to.
No,
Yeah.
the key will be
We'll
limiting
invite
my
Mike.
time.
The
I
key-
think it'd be
yeah,
good
yeah.
for
We
us
should-
to be updated on.
Absolutely.
that kind
He'd
of
love to.
thing.
We'll set it up, and he should do it soon, because we get into school reports later in the year, so we'll have him come sooner than later.
Okay. I think I'll stop there, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Good. Thanks, Leslie. Jeff, I think you're handling.
This one, number 18.
Yep.
In this agreement already, agreements and grants. I just wondered how much the grants were, and are they paid to our own staff members, or
Yeah, well,
also to the people that sponsor whatever the project is?
right, actually, so it's really just 2 levels of grants. So the granting to school districts, and I use the shoulder tappers as an example. So that was an application last year to the Ministry of Education, Skills, Trades and Labor, and that was a $25,000 grant. And then we take that money, what we did, and we reported this last year in a couple of different ways, that turned into teacher time at the high school to develop, and that was Jeff Coleman, to have more time, so released him from other teaching duties that he would have had to assign more time to secondary school apprenticeships. And then other small grants that we've received, we annually are receiving grants in and around $5,000. You made the point today about ministry announcements. Often they come up, like right now, last week we were told there's a $5,000 grant we can apply for. The due date's tomorrow. And so we get no notice, put the grant together, we're likely to get it. If we don't put the grant together, we don't get the money. And then that money supports things like, last year we used it to support a couple of students in their secondary school apprenticeships that couldn't have otherwise afforded some of the costs associated with the travel to school, the staying there, the tuition. And then finally, in the ITA, there's also an opportunity when students have finished their first year apprenticeship, they actually receive a check directly of $1,000 for their first year, of their, that's through the IT for their first year apprenticeship.
The
Yeah.
sponsors of the work experience or the apprenticeship, they don't get any of this money?
No, they don't, no, there is no, think of any examples, no, they don't. They're getting labor and they're getting the training, they're getting trained people, yeah.
Good,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. I'll let you get it. Alan? Okay. Just, can you move it up to the end, just to remind to the.
Oh, there we go, yeah, upcoming dates.
So the trustees will be aware of this, that we are going to a branch meeting this weekend of the Thompson Open Garden Branch in Ashcroft. And I just point that out because we're going to have to start thinking ourselves about planning, because a year from now, we're going to have to post one here, so we might have to start thinking about that in the next little while.
We should,
As to
venue and
theme,
everything
that
else.
sort of thing, venues and maybe booking them, and I assume we'll have to set up some sort of committee to do that, right?
I would think so, yeah.
And is it correct, or anybody, because you guys hosted this before, do we get some sort of direction from somebody that says?
Yeah,
this is how we
the branch president's Carmen Rantan, so she could.
Not anymore.
Oh, okay, so who is now?
The new one, what's her name? Because
Yeah,
Michael
just
had
after-
to
just after-
quit. Remember Michael? What's his name, Michelle?
Mm-hmm.
He was the president, but then they got rid of the,
Okay, so anyway.
anyway, I can't remember her name.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah,
Yeah, so we can check with the executive there to.
I'll find out this week. Yeah, okay.
So is this gonna cost us then, budget-wise?
No, it's usually breaks even.
Okay.
Yeah. And then what happens
Provides
is
funding.
people would pay the cost of the meals, hotels, et cetera.
Okay, good. And
Moving on.
we can move to the middle year's development instrument.
Good.
Results for grade
Okay.
4 and 7.
Great, all right. In the first paragraph, I'm just reminding you that this report gets shared out to ECD, District DPAC, Community Connections. Actually, this morning, I shared it at the Social Development Committee, and that's the first, that's actually now a part of our communications plan. We were doing it on an ad hoc basis up until we had our communications plan in place, and so that went to Social Development this morning. You know that we've been tracking grade 4 and grade 7. You'll see I've attached the slides for you. For just for your information, those, rather than attaching the report, which is online, the slides are is a version of the PowerPoint that in November, late October and early November, our high school students will be bringing back into grade 6 and 7 classrooms, primarily grade 7s, but grade 6 and 7s, to share the results and then engage them in discussion about what they mean, and so noting in here that they would make some assumptions and develop some plans regarding their overall health and well-being. And we have found that closing that loop on that on the survey is really important, because it really reminds the students why it is they bother to do the survey in the first place, because they get a chance to come back to it and discuss it. One of our concerns most recently with the MDI was, and Michelle would know this from having grade 4s in the past, you write the MDI in November, and as a result of the extensive nature of the report itself, it takes a long time for the help team to put it together, publish the result. We weren't getting results until April. We were part of a pilot last year where we were able to access them online much quicker, and this year it's full scale, and we'll write it in November and have the results back by the start of January, which makes it much more appropriate for us to go back and work with students on it, because it is gathering excellent information around those 5 assets that you've seen before. And finally, I just want to note in here that in the first week of November, many of you remember meeting Kim Schonhert-Reichel before she's been up, and I see I spelled her name wrong in that. That should have an E in there in the memo. She's been up for the start of our school year and helped us a lot, directed us a lot in terms of social emotional learning, and sort of helped us set some direction in the district along the MDI path. And she's been obviously through the Even Early Learning Partnership there from the outset in EDI, and Tracy Spanier was able to arrange a visit with the EDI/MDI team, and you will have likely now seen some of the information coming around too regarding their community event that they're going to run on a Friday night, a Saturday, and I believe it's November 4th and 5th. And I think it's Friday's 4th. We'll have Kimberly and her team working with our districts, with our teaching staff and principals on Thursday, and on kindergarten teachers on Friday morning, and then Friday afternoon and Saturday, she'll be engaging with the community. Thanks, Alan. It's November 4th.
Yeah.
Yeah. And really nice to have Kimberly back up again. Madison Spurniff and Hippa Rowcliffe, who are also in part of that Even Early Learning team, are coming up with them. And we've had a number of calls with Tracy and Ariel and myself, and the 2 or 3 of them to plan it. It's going to be a great couple of days. And it's going to kick off the time that we're actually doing our MDI. So when they come to see us, they'll be working in a classroom with our high school students and the elementary students as they work their way through what looks very much like these slides. And it'll be a modification of what...
Just a quick comment on that, Mike.
Yeah.
For once the sort of events are scheduled, if anybody take advantage of what she has regarded, they were talking about this at the Early Childhood Development Committee, I think 2 weeks ago, and said that she is regarded as the Canadian expert. And so...
Yeah, and internationally renowned, no question, yeah.
showed a map of the districts that
Yes,
are
yeah.
participating.
Yeah.
I was surprised at how few are.
Yeah, well, what's happened right now, and it's interesting because there's the list of districts that are currently participating in grade 4 and grade 7. And up to only 4,100 students in overall in grade 4. Similar pattern for grade 7. There's an expense related to it right now. And so what we have been doing is, because the EDI is ministry funded, right? So it's mandated, it's provincial, and it's funded. The MDI is not yet funded. We think at some point that it will be, it should be, and it's going to be. And what we've done for ourselves is we've had help from Humanity Learning, but we access a grant. So there is an expense, but we access a grant to offset the cost of that.
Go ahead, Leslie.
I'd just like to say that, given that our district seems to do awfully well, our kids are scoring very well in this area, it would be nice to, first of all, I think it's terrific that the students themselves have a chance to discuss the results with high school students or other people, their teachers. I think that's a really essential part of how this can be helpful.
Yeah.
But it would be nice, again, to have a little bit of publicity around this visit from Dr. Kimberly.
John Michael, yes, yeah.
So
It's just begun, it has just started to come out. For sure, the flyers will be all over the place as they are with our speakers. Yeah.
So this will be a public sort of event? Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
there's a piece of it that is fully open to public.
Mhm.
There's another piece that Tracy's organizing for parents and caregivers. So based on size, it would be.
Nice.
Yeah, for sure. So it'll begin to circulate. Plans are just getting firmed up.
Good. Any other questions, Connie? Okay, thanks on that one. Then the next one is the 2016-2017 committee and representative appointments.
There we go, right
So
there.
that document is based on what Jeanette sent out a while ago as far as a review of what our committees are and representatives on various other committees. And just review for our trustees to take a look at that, see if there's any changes that were needed or required or wanted. And the only change that we got back was a discussion that Justin and Alan and I had at some point over the time about who the BCPC rep is. And so my name is now there. And with that, if there's a motion, if there's a motion to approve, so we see. Okay, Alan Elmer, any discussion on that? All those in favor then? Good, thank you. Okay, Secretary Treasurer Tisdale. So the only thing left there is the capital project bylaw, right? Am I right?
That's correct, yes.
Okay,
Don't we have to approve
We did,
the audited financials, you did,
right at the end of the
when they
presentation.
did their presentation.
the?
Right, you did, right?
Okay,
You did.
yeah. Just making sure.
Okay, so the projects that have been part of the annual facility grant were brought to the board in the spring. And we did not approve the bylaw at that time because we were doing most of the work in September, or sorry, August, and didn't need the money until September. So now we're gonna want it, so we actually have to pass the bylaw so that we can give this authorization, so.
So it's capital project bylaw number 127066, right?
That's correct.
So we need a motion for first, second, and third reading. Elmer seconded Jeff. Any discussion, questions on that? Okay, all those in favor? All right, good. Committee reports, Communications Advisory Committee. It's Jeff, right?
Excuse me. Okay, on this report, first going to number 5 up there, there's a review of the draft of the 2016-17 communications calendar, plan for presentations to community groups. So we had plans for every month of the year, pretty well. But we're going to do revisions, there were revisions made to the original one, so it's not included into this. And there probably will be more revisions on Monday when we meet again. So we'll get a copy of that later.
Okay.
And then we had a discussion of various ways, possible ways to encourage parent volunteer involvement. I guess especially the high school back, because the attendance is relatively low, quite low, so, and there might be ways of increasing that. So there's a number of ideas that are listed there, and we haven't really accepted or implemented any of them yet, formally anyway. So, okay, so I move my report be accepted.
Okay, seconder? Leslie, any discussion or question for Jeff? Not all those in favor? Carried? Okay. Elmer, finance and facilities, we have 2 meetings.
Right, okay, this will have to go through, just,
You bet, yeah, we'll go through that.
I believe this was mostly just bookkeeping here, so I'd like to move that the reported bills paid for March and April for the amount of $2,097,015.05 be approved.
Seconded. Alan, discussion on that? All those in favor then? Carried?
Okay, and the second, I'd also like to move that bills paid for May and June 2016, the amount of $2,599,960.67 be approved.
Okay, seconder? Leslie? Discussion? All those in favor? Good.
And basically,
That was it for that one.
that was pretty well, that's okay. I'd like to move the minutes be accepted as presented.
Okay, seconder? Jeff, any discussion on that? All those in favor? Carried? We move then to the next one, dated September 13th.
Okay, we covered that one actually, so we actually need, that's being done. The other one is the 5-year capital plan. So, okay, so I'd like to move that we approve the submission of the school enhancement program, this for $209,000 of this board meeting.
Seconder? Alan, discussion?
Just a comment, Bruce, before you finally retire, if you can set up some sort of manual for so your successor knows how to apply for all these different pots of money that float around from time to time.
When I get my commission check.
Okay.
Just a comment on the commission check, comment on this one too, is that this is the second grant that was a short-term, ask for the money now, and if you got a plan in place, which Bruce already had the work done to be able to have Rocky Point put it together very quickly because the work had been done, and there will be lots of boards that didn't access this money just because they didn't get active and get it in. The challenge with this one is, we're joking about Arrow Heights, the challenge with this one is there's a timeline on when you can spend the money, which again is back to your point, it's a little frustrating, but on the other side, we're benefiting greatly from the dollars. So it's there, and thanks for being ready, Bruce.
Any questions on the motion then? All those in favor then? Carried?
Actually, there's another one, yeah. We have to move, actually, I'll pass that over to you, I think.
Yeah. Oh, for this one, okay, yeah.
For wording for the,
And basically, it would be a similar motion that we adopt or we approve the 5-year capital plan. In this case, it provides for replacement of 4 buses over the next 5 years.
You guys
So-
have that? Okay, so Elmer's moving that. Seconded. Leslie? And discussion, explanation?
Again, it's a relatively short turnaround. We've looked at the different categories that are available for capital funding, and our roofs are in good place, are in good shape. The other core building areas are in good shape, and so is just our buses. Because it's a 5-year plan, within that period of time, ours will age out under the ministry criteria, so that's why they're here.
Okay. Any questions, comments? All those in favor then? Carried.
and I'd like to move that we accept the minutes that presented.
Okay, seconder. Jeff? Discussion on that? All those in favor? Good. Carried.
I'll pause your
Okay, policy review, I'll give that report. So as usual, we discuss the structure of our committee and how it is going to function for the year. So we do meet on the fourth Monday. If we can't get a minimum of half the members, we don't meet, and we deal by consensus, and I'll continue to chair that meeting. The school student behavior expectations, that relates back to what Mike was earlier talking about, the announcement from the minister about 3 weeks ago with regards to the requirement that there be language on gender identity and sexual orientation. As Mike pointed out, we're well ahead of that already. And I think we basically met the requirement, except one thing we had to do.
We're adding a sentence into the policy around code of conduct, yeah.
Okay. Good.
And that'll come to the board as soon as we're ready.
And then we look at policy 4.7 facilities, and that has to do with the wording that we currently have that might actually create some confusion as to how our school facilities are used, because of course some of them are used by community groups for Wednesday night volleyball, whatever, and they have to go through a whole process that Jeanette and Mike have worked on as far as scheduling all of that, but there's also the leasing or renting of facilities that we wanted to make sure that doesn't, those are, like Okanagan College is renting Farwell School, is it the Red Wagon?
Red Wagon.
Red Wagon. Childcare is renting part of Arrow Heights School, but we wanted to make sure that it was clear that there's different ways that we sort of rent out our facilities and what we charge for those, so we need to continue looking at that, and that's coming back to our next meeting, right?
It is, and can I just add
Yeah,
one
go
thing?
ahead.
Yeah, this grew out of a request from the from the provincial early years office, suggesting to boards that they review the policy around facility to see whether there's language in there that specifically identifies early learning as a priority in terms of extra space in the building and your schools. Acknowledging that early learning it would be nice to have early learning as a priority, and yes, we want community use. So that we started at that point, and that's what generated discussion as well as to how we're pretty clear with that. So trustees will see language when the policy comes forward related specifically to identifying early learning programs as important to us when we're considering use of school space outside school hours.
Just want to scroll down a little bit further. I think that's it, right?
Yeah, and that's just really focus.
Okay.
That's it.
Good, so I get a motion then to receive those minutes also as presented. Jeff seconded. Leslie, any discussion, questions on those? All those in favor? Very good, thank you. Trustee reports, Early Childhood Development Committee.
Yeah, this is the meeting back in June, and their
There you
C,
go.
their 8C, it's interesting because we just talked about the middle years, and at this meeting, they talked about now the Human Early Learning Partnership is working on developing a toddler development instrument as well. And that comes back to the early development instrument, where they've got a lot of useful data in terms of children's health and development, and so then expand to the middle years, and now they're looking at going earlier in the day and getting into the toddler development instrument. So that's just sort of a brand new initiative that's been looked at. We talked about in June about Charlotte Diamond coming to Revelstoke this week, where she's coming to do a workshop for service providers and then put on a concert on Saturday. And Mike, if you want to scroll down a bit more. Yeah, I think the other one that was talked about in the June meeting is about the Francophone Early Years Center, and just encouraging people to support that. And that was about it, so that's just there for information.
Okay, any questions for Alan? Okay, thanks, Alan. Takes us to correspondence, so in the package is the letter from the new president of the RTA. And welcome, by the way, Bob. I forgot to say that at the beginning of the meeting. I should have. Your first meeting officially as the president of the RTA. Welcome. And that's a letter of thanks from the RTA with regards to our policy on sexual orientation and gender identity. And he does point out, and I think it was a good thing, that it was actually an initiative, as I recall, from the RTA to get it done. Jennifer, right? And that we worked in collaboration to make sure we got it done, and something I think we should be really proud of. And I don't know if you wanted to add anything, Bob.
Just the RTA executive, we felt that it's important to acknowledge positive work that the board does, and that the attitudes around LGBTQ issues have changed a lot in recent years, but the work needs to continue, and I think societal change like this starts with young people and our members working really hard to instill attitudes of understanding, acceptance, and celebrating differences. And we'll keep working on that, and we appreciate the board's support in that work.
Good, thanks, Bob.
Thank you.
Okay. I think we're done, right?
Yeah, any questions?
All right, questions, sorry, David.
I'm good.
Michelle?
Can I just clarify the next meeting time? We've got 4 o'clock, is that?
It is correct, yeah, because it's the early year center evening session starting at 6 at Play Through Basket, so we moved the meeting to 4 o'clock for here.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, motion to. Okay.
Yes, we gotta get our thing. Motion to adjourn on that note. Alan Palmer.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you both. Happy birthday, dear you. Happy birthday to you. There we go.
I want it noted, Elmer is the older one.